afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started with the circulation part of the meeting. We're going to start with introductions, and how about we start in the back?
I'm Rsa, Cataloging and Database Supervisor, RSA.
Rebecca, Normal Library. Patty Querum, RSA.
Elizabeth Lyles, Henry Public Library.
Jamie Buckman, Market Heights.
Roxy Boston, Morton Public Library.
Cambridge PLD. John Sayers.
Nick Hulda from Bundle Life.
Martha Troxel, RSA.
Cassandra Stokes, Peoria Public.
And Wendy Adams Good, RSA. If Patty, you got the chat. Do you want to read off to us who's online, please?
Okay, we have Abby Miles, who is Springfield, Ann Turnbull, Kalani, Hesslar, Julia Kozak-Callaghan from Normal, Catherine Johnson from Carthage, Melody Heck from Galba, Michelle Armbruster from Morrison and Mary Wiley, and Chantry Miller, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, Chantry, from Blessing Health Profession.
Okay. Circulation topics. Wendy.
Okay. First today we're going to talk about removing user notes. There is a document underneath the documents for this meeting called removing a blank note from a user's account. Basically removing a note from a patron's account, whether it's blank or it actually has text, works the same way. The important thing is that you're actually removing the entire note line and not just removing the text. That's how we end up with those blank notes. So I had added a note to my own account. So I'm going to go into Modify User and pull up my account. And all those notes are under the Extended Information tab. Let me go over there. And so you can see I have a note under the note field there that says this is a note. So basically what I don't want to do is just highlight that and hit backspace or delete or backspace one letter at a time. By doing that, you can end up with those blank notes. So basically that line will still appear on the patron's account. It will just not show anything. So what we want to do is with our cursor, again, in that field where that text was, we actually want to use the delete row button. So again, if you leave your mouse over any one of these little keys, it will tell you what it is. So the one with the big red X is the delete. So I want to actually hit delete. What that does is on this screen, currently, it removes that entire line. So that note field line is completely gone, which I know it kind of freaks some people out because I think they've deleted the entire thing forever. But basically what that has done is, again, remove that note completely. If I hit save and then make more changes, you'll see that that note field will actually come back up again. So now that is a new clear note field that if I wanted to add a note, I could, but it's not going to create those blank pop-up boxes that you can oftentimes see. And again, if you do end up with any of those blank pop-up note boxes, that basically is what has happened. And so you'll need to go into Modify User, again, click in that blank line, remove and delete that entire line, and then save. Does anybody have any questions? Patty?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Can you be logged in as Circ, or do you have to be logged in as text?
You can make those patron changes under Circ. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. No questions online from anybody? No? Okay. The next circulation topic that we have is marking an item missing procedure. Recently, Kendall sent out as a monthly kind of cleanup task what is currently showing as missing in your library. when he was running those reports, one of the things that he discovered was the current location of missing wasn't the only place that he needed to go looking, basically. Because unfortunately, sometimes staff will actually go into the cataloging database and maintenance wizard and change the home location to missing when they find that something's missing. That's not the way that we want to do it. If you need to mark something missing, whether you go looking for it for a patron, or you go looking for it because it's on the pick list, what you need to do is actually use the Mark Item Missing wizard, which is right here. Oh, there it goes. And you can type in your item ID or scan in your item ID for the item that needs to be marked missing. Again, that's the best way to do it. Changing the home location requires the home location then to also be changed back again if the item is found. Using the Mark Item Missing wizard is the best way to do it. There is actually a Mark Item Missing button also on, so if you do the on-shelf items wizard when you're pulling up your pick list for the day, there is actually a button right on that list too where you can mark an item missing if you don't find it. Does anybody have any questions on that? Any questions online, Patty?
No questions.
On that one? Okay. The next item on the circulation topics is the removal of the Choral codes. So what we are going to be doing here at RSA, actually it might be Patty, lucky her new project. It will be Patty, apparently. When you are creating a bill, right now on that bill reason, there are the old Choral from the previous Choral system, before workflow system. So Choral damage, Choral loss, Choral overdue. Those were used for old bills that were being moved over from that previous system. So basically, we just don't want those used now for newly created bills. So we're going to be taking those out of your drop-down menus. So the libraries you just won't see them anymore and won't accidentally use them. So does anybody have any questions on that? And I'm not sure, what are we thinking time frame wise? Is that something, Martha, that is going to be assigned to Patty soon, or?
Yeah, it's going to be assigned soon.
Okay, so hopefully in the next couple of...
Next week we'll probably.
Okay, so the next month or so, hopefully she can kind of, work through. Obviously, she's going to have to go into each individual library and remove those. So it will be a little bit of a tedious project, but those will be eventually being removed so that we don't have to.
Another thing, just as kind of a reminder while we're here also, is this could be
Customized, yeah.
So you don't want to see all these things because you never use some of these things. This can be customized down to just what your library uses. And you don't have to, because it's kind of a long list and stuff, some really strange things.
Right, rewind. So probably most libraries no longer have a rewind fee, that kind of a thing, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody
So,
has anything to rewind.
yes. So like any of the drop downs, like your user profiles and some of your item caps and things like that, is something that we can completely customize for your library. So besides removing those Choral, Patty could be removing some of those other ones that you don't want in there. They're just making that list incredibly long. So, and confusing for your staff, yeah. Anybody have any questions on that? Nothing online, Patty? Okay. Items sent through ILL with no item ID. This was something that's been brought up a couple of times by staff at libraries and RSA that they've contacted us here at RSA. Typically this happens when you have an item that is in some kind of a case, a DVD, a CD, that the library doesn't want the case to go through delivery. They're concerned about damage to the case. So they take that CD out of the actual case for the artist, and they put it in this one of small plasticky kind of a CD case to ship off to another library. Unfortunately, their item ID though is on the case, so it arrives at that library for a patron who has requested it, and they have no idea what the item ID is because it's not anywhere actually on the CD or on that special little plastic case for travel. So just to kind of remind everybody that if you're sending something out like that, that if there's any way that you can either mark the item, put some kind of a little note with the item ID, something like that, inside the case, just so that things aren't going to a library that they're not going to be aware as to what that item ID is for that particular item that just arrived from your library. Any questions on that? Okay. The next one is the Lost Trans Notes removal. Again, one of the special projects that Kendall had sent out to libraries this year was information in regards to that lost trans. We're making everything that goes 45 days or longer in transit, we're making them go to a lost trans status monthly. If you have items that you have cleared from the lost trans because you did go ahead and go search on your shelf and you did find it and you discharged it so it's no longer in the lost trans status, there is that additional step of actually going into the cataloging and item maintenance wizard and removing that note that's now on that item, because when it goes to that lost trans status, it's an automatic system report that's running that does that. We add that note to the item so that you don't lose the detailed information as to where it was transiting to and from and when it was originally transiting. But again, that note will just kind of stick out there otherwise. So just a little bit of a reminder that when you do get those reports monthly, that you do go ahead and pull up the item list and try to find those items. If you don't find the item on your shelf, you can always check with the other library involved in the transit to see if maybe they accidentally put your item on their shelf. If you don't find the item at all, obviously you have that option of, whether or not you believe it maybe has fallen into a black hole and just needs to be removed from the system completely. But if you do find it, either you find it or another library finds it, it comes back to you. Again, doing that discharge will take it out of that lost trans status. But removing that note too, otherwise you're going to have kind of those dangling notes on items that are no longer in lost trans. And we can also run you a report. If you think that maybe you have cleared some of those from lost trans but forgot to remove the note, we can run a report that would tell you any item that still has one of those notes on it but is no longer in a lost trans status. So you can get those cleaned up. Any questions on that? Martha?
I keep interrupting.
No, you're fine.
We have noticed on some of these assignments too, kind of depending on when things get real grand, sometimes there's two lost trans notes on things. And I ran into one where something was, I think it was like sent to a school or something like that, and it ended up in pending. Then the report was run and a note was put on it. Then it was sent somewhere else from the school without them, actually discharging it. It was sent somewhere else, and then it was in that pending for a while. So there ended up being two pending notes on it. So if you find it, take all the notes off.
Yes, yeah, and I have seen some of those too, where I think, we had gone to the lost trans status and then apparently either been found or something, and then had gone lost trans again. So now there was a second note on the item. Yeah, so. Yeah, I think it's not going to do any harm necessarily for those notes to still be there. It's just going to look a little odd if 2 years down the road, the item gets checked out to somebody and there's still a note attached to it that it's lost in transit. So, additionally, that's not on the original agenda. They did talk this morning in the database committee meeting a little bit about the new hold current location. So we're going to talk about that real quick too. They did have a little handout on that, so we'll go ahead and hand those out to everybody here in the room. Actually, can I have one else real quick? Thank you. Thank you. But basically, this is a status on an item in current location, and I'm actually going to find one. And from this morning, I know that Apple Park has a couple that are in that status. Hopefully she hasn't gotten back to her library to fix them yet. Okay, they're still there. So you see the current location for these items is showing as new hold. And basically how this happens is when an item is on hold and then the item gets cleaned from that hold because the patron does not pick up the available hold, which typically is 10 days. Some libraries have go a little less than that, 7 days, 5 days. That if the next hold that is up for filling is also at that same library, workflows will show that item in a current location of new hold. So if, like say this Alpha Park item, if it had transited to, Peoria Public, and that patron then didn't pick up that item in time, it was cleaned, the system would show it now in new hold if that next hold was another, Peoria Public at that same location. Same as if it's on a hold for in your own library. So if Fond du Lac has a hold for a patron, it's sitting on their hold shelf, they don't pick it up, and the next hold is another Fond du Lac patron for pickup at Fond du Lac, it's going to show it in that new hold location. So, so that's where that new hold is popping up. Oh yes, if the patron removes the hold, even if it's not actually cleaned, if a patron just removes the hold because they picked up another copy or went ahead and bought it themselves, so they go ahead and remove their hold in RSA CAT, or have a staff person remove it, it's going to go ahead and roll to the next one and show new hold for the current location, if it's the same pickup location. So basically, if you see that on your pick list, you see a new hold, grab the item obviously off the hold shelf and go ahead and trap or discharge, and it should pop up with who that next hold is. So that should give you your next, hold trapper if you use those and that kind of thing. So, does anybody have any questions on the new hold?
If you don't do the stuff, that's no problem.
Well, I mean, everybody cleans.
Right. Sometimes we're behind.
Oh yeah. So it's going to show as a new hold on the next pick list. Yeah, it's going to show that current location of new holds. Yeah, if you don't get it grabbed off the shelf and something else done with it. Yeah. Yep. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Circulation Policy Subcommittee. And we have some revised policies. And I think Nick is going to present those.
I have no idea.
Woohoo, Nick.
Which one are you going to start with, Nick?
Patron Notes, so I guess. So we've been relooking at some policies and combining some policies where there was overlap and just trying to streamline things so they make a little more sense. So one of the ones we went over was the Patron Notes policy, which essentially it's notes are to be used for internal alerts such as need telephone number, need birthday, mail returns, do not honor this card. All notes should include the date entered, the initials of the staff, and the library name. Use the format of the date, then the body of the note, and then your initials, and then your library name. Make sure your library name is fully spelled out. There's been a lot of, I know back in the day there was like PPL, and that could be like 3 different libraries or 4 different libraries. Notes should contain factual, non-biased information. All libraries are to remove unnecessary notes on their patrons' accounts. And if the checkout library is unable to resolve an issue in a note, notify the patron's home library by telephone or an email to the patron's home library's RSA Gmail account. So I guess was there any discussion or any questions or thoughts? Okay. So then do we need a motion and a vote?
Or just,
Or
is it just more?
do we just say we're just moving it on to?
There's no discussion, or anybody, has anything they would like to revise on what the committee's done, and this is just going to, it's just a recommendation that we're sending on to the, board of directors and the users group, so.
Is there anything online, Patty?
On one, Interval says, on item 1D, it says, it's able to resolve, not unable.
Oh,
Okay.
so yeah, D does read funny. If the checkout library is able to resolve an issue in a note.
No, that's the way it says.
Okay,
They can resolve it, and they need to let them.
okay. Does it need to,
So if they got a new phone number.
I think
they're
it's-
supposed to own it.
Right.
yes, I think she's saying it's confused, it does read a little confusing.
So, how, you guys got any?
I thought, did she say in her note how she thought it should read?
It says, it's able to resolve, not unable.
So it should say,
So she's saying, no.
it should say if the checkout library is unable to resolve an issue, that's what she's saying.
Okay, but it is able to resolve.
The intention was able.
Right. So does that read funny then if,
Okay.
I don't know if it reads funny if people just understand what the intention was. So maybe an example, if you got a new phone number, let them know. I don't know.
do you think we should possibly add an example?
John said it's, that Nick said unable when you were going to.
Oh, okay, when you were
Oh,
reading
did I
apparently.
misspeak?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So it doesn't necessarily read funny.
That just means I
It was
can't
just
read
read
it
wrong.
right.
Okay,
Yeah. Fair enough.
okay. So everyone's basically okay with the way it reads.
Yeah, I totally did that.
Okay. I hate this.
One of
And
the
then
other ones, are we,
the next one?
well, I wasn't sure about the reciprocal deletion, the reciprocal patron deletion form was on the list to talk about, but I don't think we made any changes to it.
Yes, we did.
Did we?
Yes.
I don't see
We
the
removed the
change.
fine part, the information about whether
Right here, fine.
there was a fine
Oh,
used
the
to be
old
on
one I
there.
was given doesn't have that on there.
Okay, and then I think we added the Gmail account, didn't we? I think.
I don't have a copy of the old one. I
Okay,
thought I
think
did.
so.
So yeah, I guess, we did remove mention of fines and then added to fax or mail the library or send it an email to the RSA Gmail account. I know some people have been getting some in the route, and that's not supposed to be sent through the route. So, is there any discussion about removing those things on there?
Nothing online, Patty?
Nothing online.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next one is this is the long one. We combined a couple different things on it. So it's the block limits policy. Block limits, all online RSA public libraries agree to a minimum standard cumulative block of $5 for all user profiles except user profiles that are excluded from blocks. Fines, since the purpose of fines is to facilitate the free flow of information and is not a punitive measure or source of income, fines paid by RSA member libraries patrons are kept by the receiving library. For referrals collection fees, referral collection fees must be sent to the billing library. Check or money order made out to billing library and sent through the mail, not through delivery. Include a note with the payment stating the amount is for a referral fee and the patron's name and library card number. Put a note on the patron's account that the referral fee has been paid. Do not pay the bill in workflows. Once the payment has been received at the payment library, the library staff will override the block so the patron may check out items. When the billing library gets the check, it is their responsibility to pay the bill in workflows and remove the note from the patron's card. If the check does not clear, then the billing library will notify the patron's library to block the user account. In regards to ProPay, when a patron pays online through ProPay, the referral payment will be dispersed to the billing library during the biannual disbursement from RSA. I think that's like January and July. Other payment types such as ePay, self-check, and cash, when a patron pays through one of these payment types, the receiving library will be responsible for reimbursing the billing library. The payment should be made out to the billing library and sent through the mail, not through delivery. Include a note with the payment stating the amount is for a referral fee and the patron's name and library card number. Put a note on the patron's account that the referral fee has been paid. Do not pay the bill in workflows. When the billing library gets the check, it is responsible to pay the bill in workflows and remove the note from the patron's card. Wow. For lost and damaged items, fees for lost or damaged items, including the processing fees generated by workflows, must be sent to the item-owning library. Check or money order made out to the item-owning library through the mail, not through delivery. Include a note with the payment stating the amount is for a lost or damaged item, including the process fee generated by workflows, and the patron's name and library card number. Put a note on the patron's account that the items have been paid. Do not discharge the item. Once the payment has been made or has been received, the library staff will override the block so the patron can check out items. When the item-owning library gets the check, it is their responsibility to discharge the item and remove the note from the patron's card. If the check does not clear or a replacement item is not acceptable, then the item-owning library will notify the patron's library to block the user's account. I think ProPay is the same, but ProPay, when a patron pays online through ProPay, the lost or damaged fees, including the processing fees generated by workflows, payment will be dispersed through to the library item-owning library during the biannual disbursement from RSA. Other payment types, ePay, self-check, cash. When the patron pays through one of these payment types, the receiving library will be responsible for reimbursing the item-owning library, including a note stating the amount, the item title, and the barcode number, and the patron's name and library card barcode number. Put a note on the patron's account that the item has been paid. Do not discharge the item. When the item-owning library gives the check, it is their responsibility to discharge the item and remove the notes from the patron card. For replacements, replacement items can only be accepted after contacting the item-owning library to verify if they will accept a replacement and any requirements for the replacement item. If item-owning library approves the replacement item, then the replacement item may be sent through delivery. Put a note on the patron's account that the item has been replaced. Do not discharge the item. When the item-owning library gets the replacement, the item-owning library will discharge the original item, removing the fine and the notes from the patron card. Once the item has been paid, the patron may check out items. Any checkout library staff should override the block. If the check does not clear or a replacement item is not acceptable, then the item-owning library will notify the patron's library to block the user account. A lot of that was repeated. So are there discussion or questions about all of that?
block.
Oops. The block limits part, okay. What about the block limits part? I'm sorry.
Did we discuss that? I'm sorry.
No, yeah, no, what, did you have a question about the block limits or a problem with it? Oh.
If we discussed it, she missed it.
No.
Oh, he did read it off.
Okay, he read it.
Yes. But no questions or anything on it? Nothing online, Patty?
You know, personally, hearing this read out loud, we need to, the very last line needs something there.
Did I read it right?
Replacement item, and it says if the checker is not clear, we need to take that out.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that was
We were just cutting.
yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we're not talking about check at this point, we're talking about a replacement item, so we do need to. Divide that.
Good catch, Martha.
I know part of the working on this was in preparation for the $5, $10, $15, $20 fine limits that the libraries are going to be doing. So,
Okay. No other questions or concerns? Okay. So the next part of the Circulation Policy Subcommittee agenda is the damaged item policy discussion. We started into the discussing the damaged item policy in the subcommittee, and there was a lot of, I guess, question as to how libraries are currently handling the damage situation. So we kind of wanted to open it up to everybody to kind of give some input as to how you handle it at your library. If you have an item that comes back from a patron damaged that belongs to another library. Does anybody want to offer up any discussion on that? How they handle it?
Well, I've called Peoria. I've called the library and let them know the item was damaged and see if they wanted me to go ahead and bill, or did they want me to send it to them and they bill the patron.
Okay.
Once I've dealt with, I've done the billing.
Okay, okay. So Cassandra says that she will contact the library typically by phone, the item-owning library by phone, to see if they want her just to go ahead and bill for it, or if they want to, see the item so that they can bill it. And she says typically most libraries are okay with having her move forward with going ahead and billing it.
I do pretty much the same thing. I've had about half and half. Occasionally I'll have a library that wants it sent to them to see how bad it is, and then I just tell the patron that, the owning library wants to see it before we can do anything, and I will send it to that library.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Nothing online, Patty? Okay. I will kind of toss it out there, and just in regards to,
We had an item come back this week with wet pages. We sent it back to the library with a note asking them how they wanted it.
okay. Did they discharge it off the patron's account? Or make the patron aware that there's probably going to be some kind of a bill? I'm just wondering. But also, like I say, I'll kind of toss it out there too while she's typing that back. How do you guys handle it? I mean, I know we have at least one director here too, and I mean, Cassandra's kind of a Nick or circulation. Do you let staff make that contact, or is it more your policy with your staff that if it's a Saturday and something comes in damaged, that you're going to make the phone call to the other library or that contact the other library, or?
I tell my staff just to contact the library.
Too.
If they
Okay.
can't get a hold of them, then they put it on my desk. But
Okay.
Same with me.
Okay.
She said, they said, yes, they discharged it because the web pages weren't noticed until after it had been discharged.
Okay. Okay. Elizabeth, do you let your staff handle that kind of stuff? or-
I would absolutely let my staff handle that stuff. My staff generally chooses not to.
Okay.
And actually, if it comes back on Saturday, 3 Saturdays out of 4, I'm there. So,
Alrighty. Thank you. What we are oh, yes.
Something in,
Yep.
I mean, we really need to look at it as both, kind of in two different ways. We need to look at it as, you've got something that was borrowed from another library for your staff, or for your patrons, and your patron returned it to your library damaged. What do you do? But then looking at it the other way is that your item went out to another library, it got damaged, it came back to you, but the other library did not tell you it was damaged. What do you do in that situation? I mean, there's kind of two different scenarios of damage that we kind of need to look at it both ways.
Well, I had one last week, and I called the library, which apparently they knew. And I just told them that I will be billing that patron, so. She was like, okay, so I went ahead and sent a bill to that patron.
Okay.
does it being returned to a different library than it was checked out to, and neither of them being the item owning library?
Absolutely. Yes, there's lots of different scenarios.
Yes.
So,
The librarian sends it, if it's a borrowed book, you put a note on it, and send it to the delivery saying, this is how the patron returned it. From there.
okay. Do you include in the note, let us know what you want us to bill the patron, or go ahead and bill the patron, or how do you?
She'll put that note asking, do you want us to bill the patron?
Okay. Okay.
If it is our item, depending on what the item is, depending on the damage, most of the time we just forgive we don't charge patrons.
Okay. Rebecca says that normal, that usually they put a note on something that, like, one of their patrons has returned this damage, is going back to another item owning library, and that usually if something comes back to them damaged from another library, they typically don't move forward with any kind of a process to bill the patron or anything. So, is there anything else pop up online, Patty? No? I think what we were thinking about doing then on this subcommittee level was to potentially try to kind of drop a poll that we can send out to all the libraries, because obviously today we don't have every library here represented. So just to do a little poll, again, with some of those different scenarios, to get an idea as to how some of the other libraries are handling the situation, so that we can hopefully then work our way through a policy that will make sense and work for everybody. So, okay. The last item under Circulation Policy Subcommittee is volunteers. We are looking for additional volunteers for joining the Policy Subcommittee.
Especially small libraries?
Yes, especially small libraries, and also if we can potentially draw on anyone from kind of a little more outside of the general Peoria-ish, East Peoria-ish area, that we're really hoping for that. So if you want to consider it, please let us know. You can let Cassandra know, or Nick know, or me or Martha know. And again, we'll probably be sending something out to the listserv, asking for volunteers also. So, but it's definitely good to have a lot of different size libraries, different geographic libraries represented on the committees if we can. So, okay. The next on the agenda is the RSA update. First with membership updates. We do have one school library that has moved out of RSA. That is Berry High School or Western CUSD. If you ever seen I think it's Western maybe listed on the membership list. So they have dropped out of RSA. Bushnell Public Library is circulating now and also doing holds. They've had both circulation and holds training, so they are up and going. Neponset is circulating, but not yet doing holds. And Prairie Creek Public Library is also circulating, but not yet doing holds. So those are all updates that should be updated on the membership list. There's the updated membership list on the RSA website if you want to make sure that you have the most updated list. I know also with our back to school workshop, again, we always have schools who realize that they're not sharing with publics, that kind of a thing. So I know we've had a couple of changes to that also in the last month or so. So again, an updated list will let you know who has maybe added an additional sharing type to their membership. So, any questions on that? No. Missing items cleanup. Again, Kendall had sent out the most recent project was the missing items. If you can look for those missing items and discharge them if you find them. If you do not find them, is that making that decision on whether or not it's time to go ahead and move it to discard, or if it's something you want to keep continuing to look for a while. And if you need any additional or a new list, a new report, just let us know. We can always, if you've gone through and cleaned it up and you want to see what's left, want a fresh list, just let us know. We can always run a fresh report for you. Circulation map rework. James is still working on going through the circulation map and reworking that. He started again with the larger libraries and is working his way down in size of library. So he's still in some of the larger libraries at this point. If you're with a larger library and he's contacted you and you haven't gotten back with him yet, please do, so that he can keep moving on towards those medium-sized and smaller-sized libraries. RSA Upcoming Events. We do have a circulation workshop here at the East Peoria location. That is Friday, September 14th from 12:30 to 4. And then there is also a holds workshop on Tuesday, September 25th here at East Peoria from 9:30 to 12:30, if you have any staff that might benefit from that. Any questions on any of that? No? Okay. Then the last here is Rails, State Library, OCLC updates. The first thing would be just a reminder to be careful when matching your RSA codes that will show up on your pick list or show up on any kind of a transit slip. Matching that to the correct library when you're filling out your delivery slips. Patty and I recently visited a couple of school libraries. One is AC Central, which is the A0, A1. So number one, they're at the top of the list alphabetically. If you accidentally scan an item ID into the pickup locations spot on placing a hold, they're the one that pops up. So they occasionally get things because of that. Their AC Central is the name of their school. We have AC Alito is a code, an RSA code for Mercer County School. So they sometimes get confused with that. And then we went to Pleasant Plains School, which oftentimes on the delivery slip, people will just put Pleasant Plains when they really mean Prairie Skies Public Library, their Pleasant Plains location, because they have the two locations. So it was a good reminder this last week where some of those confusions can kind of come in. And even for as long as I've been looking at those codes, sometimes I have to actually pull up the membership list and take a look. Better to look than to assume that you know on some of those codes as to what libraries those are. So, any questions on that? No? Okay. The other item, again, in regards to delivery, we were contacted recently, twice in the same week. That's why I thought maybe we should bring it up at the meeting. By a couple of libraries who mentioned the use of the hold or return word, like in the notes field on a delivery slip. Believe that was something that was a little more common. Don't know if it maybe at some point was policy with Alliance or, but I think it was more commonplace. I know when I was trained at the public library where I still work part-time, we used the hold return in the note field. So, I think it was something that used to be pretty commonplace. And we had a couple of libraries who have, called, and not all libraries are doing that anymore. And how much they appreciate and how much it helps them in their workflow to have that on there. So again, it's not a Rails requirement for your delivery slips, but appreciated, I guess, by a lot of our RSA libraries that maybe in the notes field, whether you put that it's a hold or return on the delivery slip. So it's easier for them, I think, when staff is maybe putting things into piles, maybe different people do those different tasks as things are coming out of the tubs from delivery, and it makes it a little bit easier for them to compile those piles of work for everybody. So just want to let everybody know that. On the agenda there, the changed delivery route names. That was recently in the Rails newsletter. Don't know if anybody had noticed that. So there is going to be a little bit of a change in the way that the delivery routes are named. They're supposed to be, Rails, I believe, is going to be updating everything on their website with the new names. I'm not sure exactly. I'm assuming it will be Rails that will be updating L2 and the library's information on L2 also with the newer delivery names. So that's just something that you might see changing here shortly, is that rather than like EP3 or something like that, they're changing the way that some of those route names read. So, any questions on that? Okay. Rails upcoming events. I did pull those up. I think that was a longer list. I'm not seeing my list. Well, I thought I had saved a copy of it here, but I don't see that I did. So, those would all be listed on L2. If you want to take a look at anything that Rails has upcoming, they were just here with the Find More Illinois. If you have any questions about that, if you weren't able to attend that, want any information on the Find More Illinois project, we do have some information here at RSA in regards to what the pricing will be on that, and some information in regards to the different cohorts as to how they're kind of onboarding libraries that want to join that. They kind of have a little time frame as to, taking libraries during a certain time and then getting them actually up and going with the system, getting trained in Find More Illinois. So, other business, Cassandra?
Other business?
Somebody have anything? No? Erica, would you go grab Kendall, please? He's supposed to come in here for us. Thank you. If nobody has any other business, basically just want to take a moment to thank Martha for her years at RSA. If everyone's not completely aware, Martha will be retiring from RSA at the end of this year. Just wanted to thank her for all of her years with member services and with the committees and with the subcommittees and keeping Nick in line. So
that's the most important thing
yes.
she does.
And so Kendall.
Martha's been here since October 5th of '99. So a long time. She started off, there was like 3 or 4 people in RSA. She was search, she was cataloging, she was training, troubleshooting, parameters. They had her in the basement. Nobody puts Martha in the basement, so we moved her here. And as long as I've been here, for the 13 or so years I've been here, Martha's been just invaluable. Keeping me in line as well as Nick, but also as kind of the institutional knowledge, the person I always know who's going to know what's going on or know the answer, keeping everything running nicely. So we are definitely going to miss Martha when she goes. You have to lift big shoes to fill. We have, on Monday, we did interviews. We had 4 people we interviewed back to back with no break, which makes for a long day. And we're still kind of thinking who it should be. We met after interviews Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The HR person at Burr Ridge who did the interviews with us, who sat in tons of interviews, said at the end of those interviews she'd never met or never interviewed a pool of candidates that was kind of as equally matched, because normally if you sit in interviews you kind of know after the last person walks out exactly who won. We didn't this time. So we're hoping to have somebody on staff by the middle of October, so they get a couple of months with Martha to learn as much as they possibly can before getting thrown to the wolves, i.e. you guys. So we appreciate Martha's time. We'll have a cake for her at the users group in November, because it's a good reason to eat cake, and I like cake. So if you come to users group in November, I believe that's at Morton, there'll be Treskers. So good cake too.
Okay.
There you go.
Get everybody there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I just might have to buy 2 cakes. So anyway, we just wanted to say thank you to Martha formally, since this was the last of these meetings, I believe, that we'll have before the end of the year. So thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Cookies and everything back at the back. There was a big cookie that said, "What? Thank you, Martha," or something on the back there. So please make sure that you help yourself.
Yeah, I can remember going to Martha's office in the basement.
Yeah. And every one of us was in the same office. So there's one of us, we were sharing.
Or I'd be in one little
Okay, thank you.
We're gonna miss you, Martha. I did tell her we were gonna call her for conference call. Did you get your paper in the mail today? All right, the next CERC meeting will be January 10th of 2019.
Without Martha.
Without Martha. Next year. All right, so we're adjourned. That couldn't have been a quick meeting. Hi.
I'd like to volunteer. Can't really get much smaller than my library.
All right.